Okay, Karen, I'm going to go through each section and do one example for each section. So the first section we talked about was multiplying a fraction and a whole number. So you might have had an example of something like, I don't know, maybe 2 times 1/4. So that's a whole number times a fraction. And we kind of talked about it like it was repeated addition. So 2 times 1/4 is the same as 1/4 plus 1/4, which of course is 2/4 or 1/2 in lowest terms. Later on in our section we learned that the nice simple little rule we can use is we can treat 2 as a fraction, meaning we could take 2 and put it over 1. And then all you have to do is multiply the numerators and denominators to get your answer. So just like we got 2 over 4 over here, if I multiply 2 times 1 I get 2, and then 4 times 1 I get 4, and then in lowest terms that would be 1/2. Okay? I'll do one more example for you. Let me just erase that. Erase all that. And I'll do another example. So what if I had something like maybe 4 times 3/4. Now I use the rule that I just taught you to do 4 times 3/4. So press pause, and then when you finish trying it, come back and see how you did. Alright, Karen, so I assume you tried to do the rule, so let's see how you did. So 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1 because 4 divided by 1 is 4. So I can just put that all over 1, like so. Okay? Once you've done that, all you have to do is multiply the numerators and then the denominators, and that's your answer. Now, you might have to reduce or change it to a mixed number if you get an improper fraction. Let's see what happens. So 4 times 3 up top is 12, and 4 times 1 is 4. In lowest terms, well, 12 divided by 4 is 3, so the answer to this question would actually be 3. The next section we were dealing with was dividing a fraction by a whole number. So you might have a question like, take this fraction like 3/4, and you divide it by a whole number. Let's say it's, I don't know, anything. We can say 5. Okay? Now I'm just going to teach you the rule. Now the rule is to solve division of fractions, you actually multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we don't know what the second fraction is yet. We have to put it over 1 first. So this is like 3/4 divided by 5 is the same as 3/4 divided by 5 over 1. The rule is multiply 3 over 4 times the reciprocal of the second fraction. Reciprocal is just a fancy way of saying flip that fraction over. So that's going to become 3 over 4 times the reciprocal of 5 over 1 is 1 over 5. And so to multiply the top, just the same way as before, 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 times 4 is 20. My answer is 3/20. So the rule for dividing fractions by whole numbers is you actually multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. I had to flip 5 over 1 and make it 1 over 5. And then you just multiply them like you learned in the previous section of the multiply fractions. So speaking of multiplying proper fractions, that was the next section. So I've already really talked about this. Any fractions that you multiply, you simply just multiply the denominators and the numerators by each other. So I'll give you an example. How about 5/8 multiplied by 3/4? Okay. All you do in multiplying fractions is multiply the numerators by each other and the denominators by each other. So 5 times 3, 15. 8 times 4, 32. And I think that can't be reduced. I don't think 3 32, no. So 15 over 32 is the actual answer to that question. And that's all you do. Whenever you're multiplying proper fractions, simply multiply the numerators, multiply denominators, done. Okay. Why don't you try one now? I'll give you one to practice. So I'm just going to delete all that. Can you try the question, how about 3/5 times 1/5? Press pause and try, and after you finish, come back and see how you did. Alright, Karen, so I assume you tried it. So, like before, numerator times numerator, 3 times 1 is 3, 5 times 5 is 25. The answer is 3 over 25. So sometimes you'll be multiplying improper fractions and mixed numbers. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you an example of a mixed number multiplication. How about 2? Now we modeled this, but I'm not going to do the model. I'm just going to give you the rule. 2.5 times 2 and 1/2. Now the first thing I need you to know is the answer is not 4 1/4. You do not simply multiply 2 times 2 to get 2, and you do not multiply 1/2 times 1/2 to get 1/4. Okay, that is not correct. Okay, let's go back. Let's take away that stuff we just did. No, I guess I can't do that. Okay. So let's try that question again and see if we can figure out the actual answer. So we had 2.5 times 2.5. Well, the trick to this is change everything to an improper fraction. And if you can't remember the rule for changing a mixed number to an improper fraction, I'll quickly go over it with you. You're going to multiply the denominator times the whole number. 2 times 2, which is 4. Then you're going to add the 1, which is 5, and it's going to be all over 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, all over the same denominator 2. You always keep that same denominator. So if that's 5 over 2, and this is also 2.5 over here, then it must also be 5 over 2. Okay? So you write times 5 over 2. And now, the rule for multiplying improper fractions is the same as it is for proper fractions. You simply multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and that's going to be your answer. You might have to put it in lowest terms, though. Let me just shrink that a little bit. And so you end up getting, of course, 5 times 5 is 25, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now, don't leave your answers as improper. I want them changed back to a mixed number. So you ask yourself, how many times does 4 go into 25? Well, 6 times 4 is 24. So 6 wholes. But 6 times 4 is 24. So there's 1 left over, all out of 4. So the answer is 6 1/4. Alright, so what I would like you to do is try one on your own. So I'm just going to undo that problem and we'll try another one. Can you try the following question? I want you to try 3 3/4 times 1 1/2. Okay, press pause now, Karen, and try this question here. Remember, change it to an improper fraction first. Alright, let's change these to improper fractions. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15 all over 4. I'll do that again. 3 times 4 is 12, 12 plus 3 is 15 all over 4, so my improper fraction is 15 over 4. And I'll change this one now. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, all over 2. So I'll make that times 3 over 2. And then you simply multiply. And that's it. So you're going to do 15 times 3, which is 45. And 4 times 2 is 8. Now you shouldn't leave that as an improper fraction. You should always change your answer to a mixed number when you're done. So you say, how many times 8 go into 45? Let's see, 6 times 8 is 48. That's too high. So 8 times 5 is 40. So 8 goes into 45 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40, so there's still 5 left over, all over 8. So the answer should be 5 and 5/8. Now, what if you were dividing mixed numbers? What would you do then? Well, let's do an example. Let's do something like 3 1/4 divided by 2 1/2. Well, just like before, we're going to change that to improper fractions. So I say to myself, okay, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13 all over 4. So my improper fraction is 13 over 4 divided by 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5 all over 2. So that becomes 5 over 2. And just like we learned in the last section, when we divide fractions, whether they're proper or improper, is you multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? So it's going to be 13 over 4 times the reciprocal of 5 over 2. So I'll write that again. So it's 13 over 4 multiplied by the reciprocal of 5 over 2, which is 2 over 5. That's the rule for all divisions of all fractions, whether they be proper or improper, is you multiply by the reciprocal. XR, multiply by the reciprocal. 13 times 2, 26. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 goes in 26 once, with 6/20ths left over. I'm going to give you one more to do on your own coloring. Try 5 and 5/8 divided by 2 1/3. Press pause. Don't forget, change it to an improper fraction first. So press pause, try it, and come back and see if you get the right answer. Alright, let's see how you did. So let's change this guy to an improper fraction. 5 times 8 is 40. 40 plus 5 is 45 all over 8. So 45 all over 8. Okay? And over here, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7 all over 3. So 7 over 3. I'm dividing. So let's divide by 7 over 3. And so if you remember the rule, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 7 over 3. Once you've changed 2 over 3 to 7 over 3, you don't leave it. You have to actually multiply that first fraction by the reciprocal, or I should say the flip of the second fraction. That's going to become 45 all over 8 times 3 over 7. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 45 times 3. That works out to be 100. 45 times 3 is 135. 8 times 7 is 56. So then you ask yourself, how many times is 56? Go into 135. It's going to go in twice. And so we know that 2 times 56 is 112. Over here, 112. But you have 135. So there's going to be, subtract that, and you get 23 left over. So it goes in 2 times with 23 over 56 left over. Okay, if you can apply all those different rules on your test tomorrow, Thursday, you should be fine. If you have any questions, come see me. You can always watch the video over and over again, try to remember and figure out what the rules are. Yeah, I don't have time to go over the models with you, but these rules should help you with your test.